We are in Hamilton for the 2014 New Zealand Open Billiards Championship, a sport that New Zealand has a rich history in, names such as Clark McConaughey. It is the Cosy Club where some of the best billiards players in the world will fight out for one of the most prestigious titles in the sport.
Yes, good afternoon and welcome into the New Zealand Open Billiards Championship for 2014. We're at the Cosy Club in Hamilton for what should be a very special afternoon of billiards, a sport with a great history and a great tradition here in New Zealand. To tell us a little bit more about what we can expect to see this afternoon, the level of competition and what this wonderful sport has planned for the future is Alan Paris. He is the president of the New Zealand Billiards and Snooker Association. And Alan, great privilege to be here. What can we expect this afternoon?
Brilliant play. 3 hours of play between two finalists who've spent the last 3 days beating everyone in the field.
And this event unique this year because there are world ranking points up for grabs, which is the first time that's happened for a tournament here in New Zealand.
Correct. First time ever. So we're really pleased to be able to have this privilege to get these ranking points and get all the players on the world scene ranking events.
And this is just the start of bigger plans too, because it is planned for 2015 right through to 2018 to have multiple tournaments here in New Zealand with world ranking points.
Yes, we've been fortunate to gain 4 events, 1 in Christchurch, 1 in Auckland and 2 in Hamilton for the next 4 years. So we're really pleased to have that.
And again, international competition from right around the world here today in New Zealand.
Yes, we've got 8 players from the UK, from India and from Australia here today. And next year with the world ranking events, we will have up to 7 world champions coming.
Okay, so stay with us. An exciting afternoon of billiards to look forward to. Will it be one of the New Zealanders or will it be one of our visitors from overseas?
And looking at the format of this tournament, WBL world ranking points up for grabs, the first time ever. Competition over 3 days, 25 players. 8 from overseas, 3 former champions. To explain the rules, one of New Zealand's best, Wayne Carey.
Yes, hi Mark. Billiards is played with 3 balls, a red, white and a yellow. The player has his own cue ball and there's 3 ways to score, in-off, pots or cannons. Cannons are worth 2 points, pots are worth 3 points and in-offs are worth 2 to 3 points depending if you're going off the red or the white. At the top of the screen there you have the cannons where the player playing with the yellow ball hits both the red and the white and that becomes a cannon. And in-off is with the own cue ball back and placed with anywhere on the D. The opponent's ball potted, it stays down. It does not return to the table, so it is not a good idea to pot your opponent. If the red is potted, it is worth 3 points and goes back on the black spot.
The white line next to the famous D on a billiard table in billiards is known as the balk line. If playing from D, not allowed to hit ball behind the balk directly. In balk, either on the line or more than half the ball is over the line, opponents pot your cue ball and leaves red and his cue ball behind the line. Double balked, no direct aim, play off the cushions. So from a safety point of view, leaving your ball and the red ball behind the balk line ultimately means your opponent must at some point play in front of the balk line in the opposite direction. To explain starting in the game of billiards, Wayne Carey.
Yes, the red is put on the black spot and the player plays from the D. He tries to put one ball in behind the balk line and with the other ball on the side cushion. Therefore, the player coming to the table can only really play a standard scoring shot by getting a cannon or potting the opponent's ball.
When the opponent commits a foul, the player has the option of playing from where the balls are, or ultimately, the opponent's ball is placed on the middle spot, the red ball on its spot, and cue ball placed in the D. Well, after 3 days of competition, 25 players was reduced to 4 for the semi-finals. Wayne Carey, the 3-time New Zealand champion, the 5-time New Zealand Open champion, up against the experienced Paul Stocker, a 9-time North Island champion, a 1-time New Zealand champion, and he's won this tournament twice before. It was set to be a ding-dong battle. Stockers rode through to the semi-finals, came against Pandya of India, and Good, a comfortable victory in both. For Wayne Carey, it was a comfortable victory against Cook. Then it would come up against the Australian Molde, and again, it would be a demolition. To the semi-final, and it was Paul Stocker who decided that he wanted to put the pressure on Wayne Carey early. Some wonderful early billiards from Stocker would give him a narrow lead.
6.
But it would be very, very close early, and Wayne Carey would come back.
6.
Carey, who'd been on the New Zealand scene since 1977 and had won this tournament 5 times, was not going to give up easily.
3.
But Stocker continued to show composure. And if you thought he was under pressure, he certainly would never show it. Wayne Carey was under a huge amount of pressure, and Stocker continued to apply it.
39.
The elder statesman of New Zealand billiards was heading for another final. But Wayne Carey was not prepared to give up. With the semi-finals lasting 2 hours, the difference was one big break. But everything that Wayne Carey did, Paul Stocker would reply. He would answer with grace.
4.
Some wonderful billiards being demonstrated. You sensed that he was in the zone. You sensed that this was his time. The one thing Wayne Carey knows is this is not over until the final buzzer. And just as he began to close that gap, Stocker would come back out and play some of the best billiards he'd seen over 3 days. Carey, though, just continued to show some genius, some brilliance.
4.
And the gap would close once again. Playing at the right end of the table, Wayne Carey was making his comeback.
9. 12.
Wonderful cannon. And that was very much the way this semi-final would continue to play out. A lapse in concentration would ultimately open the door for one of these two players.
12.
But Paul Stocker, strategically, was having a very good morning. Continually potting the red and picking up valuable points with cannons.
52.
His consistency, his continuity was beginning to be the difference.
6.
Some wonderful billiards from both players. But they talk about being in the zone in the sport. And for the veteran Paul Stocker, that was his time. And he would go into, yet again, another New Zealand Open final. Paul Stocker would win 479 points to Wayne Carey's 342.
Well, Paul Stocker, congratulations, making another New Zealand Open final. I understand you won this, what, back in 1996?
I won the New Zealand Championships in Rotorua, which is a different tournament. I've won this New Zealand Open in Hamilton in 2001 and last year.
Now, you got up over Wayne Carey today to
Yes.
win this. I mean, you won, but do you feel like you're playing good billiards?
I am, yes. I'm just a bit nervous. But yes, I think I'm back to my best form again now.
2 hours, how difficult is it to concentrate for that period of time?
At my age, quite difficult. 75 now, but still going strong. But it is difficult. You have to focus all the time on the basic things that you've learned during your career, and that is to keep your head still and not bash. Billiards is a soft hitting game.
And Grant Hayward, you meet him in the final. What are you expecting from him?
I'm expecting him to be a very tough opponent, as he always is. I played him in the first round a couple of days ago, and we had a very good battle, and I managed to beat him, so I'm feeling confident.
He was just too good. Beautiful billiards. Paul Stocker's one of our best New Zealand players. Wonderful player. He's a great losing player, you know, long and offs, short and offs, and he was just too good on the day.
It was simply that. What, just came down to who had the better night's sleep, perhaps?
Maybe. Well, it's the funny thing in this game, when you're flowing and you're warm, everything flows for you. You get the weight of the table and everything. When you're cold, you come to the table, you're waiting a while, 5 minutes for a shot or something. You come to the table, everything looks hard, and you can't get the weight. You get the shot, but your next shot's ugly.
And Paul Stocker would meet this man, Grant Hayward, in the final. A representative in the sport of snooker, 9-ball and billiards. He'd just recently won the Hamilton Open, in fact on the Thursday night. But the challenge would come from one of Australia's leading billiards players, George Chamis, coached by the legendary Joe Manici. Chamis would beat Draper of the UK and then the local Waikato champion Taylor to get through to the semis. Grant Hayward, on the other hand, he would beat two Australians, Dehan and Colebrook, both very experienced, both coming here with big resumes.
5, 7.
George Chamis won the right to break and would look to try and apply the pressure early. The ever-composed Australian had had a very good 3 days up to this point.
9.
He understands the importance of the psychological edge.
16.
He knew the longer that he could keep Hayward sitting down, the greater chance he had of getting into the zone, finding the comfort and getting a greater feel for the table.
Stocker, 12.
29.
George Chamis would play good top-of-the-table play, ensuring that he kept the red ball and his opponent's ball in close quarters.
4. 3. 6.
Pocketing the red beautifully. Everything was going his way.
George, 39.
But after a break of 39, Grant Hayward would step up to the table for the first time in the semi-final.
9.
It was the first time in 3 years that he'd taken part in a major billiards tournament. But with a strong snooker background and a wonderful run through this tournament, he continued with the great form early on. Both players ranked in the top 10 in the New Zealand BSA rankings. Again, world ranking points up for grabs, and that was plenty of motivation for both players. But like George Chamis, Hayward would play some very good top-of-the-table billiards.
Grant, 35.
A very good opening break of 35 would mean Chamis would come back up to the table.
39.
This was going to be a ding-dong battle.
42.
A very good second up break of 42.
George, 42.
Strategically, though, what had he left Hayward on the table? Not enough, and it was Hayward who would begin to take ascendancy.
12.
Chamis, however, was to come back with a fight back. He was starting to play some of his best billiards.
2.
But this is a game of inches. This is a game of concentration. And it was first to flinch who might ultimately end up making it through to this final.
12. 14.
Ever composed, George Chamis was beginning to apply pressure and asking some questions of Grant Hayward.
19.
With another significant break, Hayward was forced to play the safety shot.
2.
Chamis had no answers, which meant Hayward was back at the table. From here, Hayward would begin just to stretch the lead.
7.
And again, some exceptional cannons, some exceptional point scoring. For George Chamis, though,
27, George.
little errors were just beginning to creep into his game. And once again, a wonderful cannon to set the play at the top of the table. And with time counting down, the man who had showed little emotion throughout this 2-hour battle finally had an opportunity to smile and shake the hand of George Chamis. A margin of 24 points separating both players.
The thing I've noticed watching billiards players, you don't seem to show any emotion whatsoever. I mean, you're happy, you're ecstatic. I mean, you just seem to sort of sit there almost like a statue at times. Is that part of the game?
That's part of the game, yeah. The concentration, maintaining that for a couple of hours is awkward, so you can't bring emotions into it.
You've just been playing for 2 hours, you've got a wee break. Final was 3-hour duration. What do you do to keep yourself fresh mentally?
Just try and relax, rehydrate, do just relaxing basically, getting the body to relax and taking the pressure off yourself.
Paul Stocker in the final, he narrowly beat you in the very first round of this particular competition. What do you need to do to win today?
I think he actually thrashed me in the first round, so I need to get closer to him and keep the pressure on him.
And you feel like you're playing good billiards now?
Starting to, yeah. I play snooker billiards basically, so I need to learn a bit more about playing billiards itself.
It's been great. 2 tournaments run consecutive, so it gives us 6 days of billiards. It's very well run. The boys here looked after us very well. So, short saying, I'll be back.
What makes billiards such a special sport?
It's a sport that you can play at any time. It's something you can do by yourself, whereas with snooker you probably need another player. But it's really enjoyable getting the losers and potting the balls. It's also something that my father played years ago, which got me wanting to play the game. I really enjoy it.
What brings a lovely lady like yourself to the billiards?
Because I've got a husband that wants to learn billiards. He's been learning the billiards and I've learnt a lot. First few days were a bit boring, but then I got to learn it a bit.
A little bit boring?
But to start with, because you don't know how they're scoring.
And is it a game for somebody who's intellectually brilliant? Is your husband smart? Is he intelligent?
He likes to think so.
Just been speaking to your lovely wife. I'm assuming it's your wife, is it?
Yeah, I'm the brilliant one.
You're the brilliant one. Now, why do you suddenly want to learn the sport of billiards? What's the fascination?
Well, I've played snooker for about 46 years and occasionally have a game of billiards but never really understood it. So I've decided to enter a couple of tournaments. This is my second tournament I've entered, and my goal was to score over 100 in each match, and I've achieved that. And I even won a match, so I'm on a roll.
What's the harder game, snooker or billiards?
Billiards is a lot more mentally taxing. In snooker you pot a red or whatever, and all you got to worry about is where you're putting the white. In billiards you got to go in off or pot, and you got to worry about where the ball's going to end up for your next shot.
I've got a saying, don't waste your time chasing the girls, become a champion and the girls will chase you. Is that part of the motivation?
That's a bit tough. You got my wife sitting across there. How am I going to answer that?
Brian, have you had a good Kiwi welcome?
Yeah, we always have a good Kiwi welcome, yeah. We've been coming for 14 years, now.
Who's better at billiards, Australia or New Zealand?
Oh, well, at the moment, New Zealand, while we're here.
And just looking back at previous winners, Wayne Carey, a man who's about to join me in commentary, has won this tournament on 5 occasions. Paul Stocker, in today's final, a winner back in 2001 and 2013.
I want to ask you about a very special moment that happened here in 2007 when it was Peter Gilchrist, the Englishman out of Singapore now, broke a world record In fact, in his opening break, 1,346. That must have been a very special occasion for billiards in this country.
And that was a special occasion for billiards in this country and any country. It was previously held by an Indian who was considered one of the best in the world, but for Peter to do that, and I was tournament director there, and I watched the whole lot, and it was thrilling to watch all the way through. It was magic.
As we alluded to, wonderful history and tradition of billiards in this country. The final up next.
And what a final it's going to be between the Iceman, Grant Hayward, a narrow winner over George Hammers in one semi-final, the man with the snooker and 9-ball background, up against the gentleman of New Zealand billiards, Paul Stocker, 75 years young, a big reputation, great form, coming into the final. And the final would get underway, Grant Hayward with the opening break, a final that would last for 3 hours. Joining me in commentary, Wayne Carey, one of New Zealand's greatest.
Yeah, hi Mark. Paul's just coming to the table now. You'll probably try and play a 2 to 3 cushion cannon here. There's the 1, 2, 3, and he's missed. So this will bring Grant Hayward to the table.
So early pressure on Paul Stocker. These two did play each other in the early rounds, and that day it was Paul Stocker who won comfortably, but Grant Hayward, in the space of 2 days, has just turned that form around and has been playing magnificent billiards.
Yes, he has, and you'll just see there too, this is the opening stages where everyone's just a wee bit nervous, and you'll see Paul play, he's try and play it off in the middle, in the bottom pocket, which he has, and he'll now play a loser off the yellow ball.
Explain the terminology, loser.
Loser is another term for in-off. We call potting winning hazards, and we call in-offs losing hazards. He's accidentally potted the opponent's ball as well there.
So when he pots the opponent's ball stays down, which only leaves the red up on the table, which reduces his ability to score points. Not really what these two players want to be doing.
He is allowed 15 hazards. He's given a warning on 10. He's allowed to play another 5 more. After that, he's not allowed to play another hazard. If he does, it's a foul.
13.
And the other player's brought to the table. Grant is a really polished cueist. Look at his action. His chin's down on the cue. He's a wonderful cueist. And there you go, just a nice simple pot. He'll bring the white out of baulk and carry on with both balls in front of the baulk line. You'll consider Grant to get a break here.
5.
He's actually played that just a bit too far. He'll play the cannon here. At the same time, he's going to try and get the white down to the top of the table end. Now, I would suggest he might even try and hit a jaw here. This would be a tremendous shot if he can do this. He's hit the jaw, and he's got the cannon. That's a wonderful effort.
So Grant Hayward in early form in this final. What is going through the head of Paul Stocker? As now Hayward just begins to continue to rack up the points. The red ball being put back on the black cue spot. Oh, some good billiards, some very, very smart, intelligent billiards from Grant Hayward.
He'll pot this red and leave his white close to the middle pocket so he can play another in off. Yes, he's on the correct angle here. This is nice, simple billiards.
16.
He's just playing every shot well. The secret of billiards is playing every shot, every easy shot well to make the next shot easy.
So Grant Hayward just looking to set himself up, looking to just get into some good early form, play percentage billiards, not look to be too risque at the moment, and it is paying off for him.
8.
Break of 8. Nice cannon.
Just trying to get top of the table there.
So already thinking one shot ahead. Where do I want to leave my cue ball?
12.
pot the red here and bring the white up, bring the yellow up on the left-hand side of the table so he can play the cannon. He's probably played that a bit narrow. Yes, he has. He hasn't put up far enough.
15.
He can get the cannon, but to set up his next shot's going to be very awkward, very ugly.
So just a reminder for our viewers, a cannon, the cue ball must come off the opponent's ball, and the cue ball must
17.
also come off the red ball.
And exactly as I predicted, he's in an ugly position now. He'll hit the yellow at 7 o'clock.
Oh, that's some good billiards under pressure. A very good shot indeed. But ultimately, it all comes down to strategically placing his own yellow cue ball.
Grant Hayward, 31.
And so a very good break of 31. And just beginning to open up a small lead now on Paul Stocker. What can Stocker do?
You'll notice here that Paul's got quite an upright stance. Paul's been a tennis player, and a few years ago he had a fall on the tennis court, and his back's never been the same since. So hence he's got quite the upright stance.
So Paul Stocker. Needs to try and stay in touch early.
12.
A break of 12, and we spoke of that world record earlier, set on table 4 at this venue of Peter Gilchrist.
14.
Born in the UK, playing out of Singapore, of 1,346 points. That is just remarkable.
Oh, it was. It was. And what people don't realise is about 400 scoring shots in a row to 1,000 points. So in actual fact, he would have got something like 520 continual scoring shots to make that 1,346 break.
Grant Hayward, again, looking to try and really set the tone, establish a commanding lead early on and really start just to put a few doubts in the head of Paul Stocker. And we've seen that now, up to over 200 points, but it can come back very quickly in a game of billiards. One big break and the whole complexion of the game changes.
6.
Yes, that's a good point, Mark. A couple of years ago, on this exact table, Paul Stocker got 196 break. So if you can emulate that, he'd be thrilled.
8.
But Hayward, using his experience across all cue sports, represented New Zealand, as we said, in 9-ball, snooker and billiards. So he brings the complete package. And I guess the difference here, Wayne, between snooker and billiards is in snooker, you're really only in control of 2 balls.
11.
In this game, you've got to be in control of 3. That makes it very tough strategically.
Yes, it does. In snooker, you're just really controlling your cue ball. But in this game, you've got all 3 balls to work with.
What makes it equally tough too is we see Grant Hayward extending that lead. This final is 3 hours. Now they've just come off the back of a 2-hour semi-final. This is the first session of the final, split into 2 1.5-hour sections with a 10-minute break in between. And so now Paul Stocker really does just need to try and reset, refocus. And Wayne, do they have the ability in that 10-minute break to have a chat to coaches, to seek some advice from other players perhaps?
Yes, they do, but they'll more often than not, they're both experienced players. You'll probably find they'll just sit and wonder what they're doing wrong. Their stance is wrong, their back arm's wrong. They'll be feeling they're not square to the ball. They'll be trying to work out what it is.
So Paul Stocker, a little bit of a run here.
13.
He knows what he's capable of.
We call this magic circle play, where you just keep bringing the red ball up into that little circle right there, and you just keep going and off it. And you're allowed 15 of these, which would be 45 points.
16.
And then you just run a couple there for you, just to demonstrate.
So a very good break beginning to be established by Stocker, trying to close the gap on Grant Hayward. Just playing good percentage billiards at the moment.
19.
In control of his own cue ball. No wonder two television cameras here for the first time, just whether that's impacting on them a little bit, just with the nerves.
Yes, I think it definitely is, Mark. I've noticed that Paul does seem to be more nervous than normal. For instance, there's a shot where he's put both balls in baulk. He's okay, he can now play the drop cannon, but normally he'd have played the cross loser from that middle pocket. But he should bring the balls close together here, which will give him some top of the table play. There you go.
30. Nicely played from Paul Stocker, so top of the table, where he ultimately wants to be, where every billiards player wants to be. Opportunity to pick up some valuable points here, really get a good break.
See how simple this game is when it's played well. Everybody watching this will think, well, that's easy enough. And it is. This is a lovely, that's a lovely double kiss cannon, Paul. Good shot, Paul Stocker. He's keeping both balls down there.
So are we just starting to see a bit of a momentum swing here? Paul Stocker struggled early as they come towards the first half of this final, approaching the 90-minute mark. Can he just put a little bit of doubt into the mind of Grant Hayward? And more importantly, give himself some confidence, give himself some belief. 43.
He's on a nice break of 43 here. He'll play another loser into the middle pocket. And hopefully set the red over the
46.
Middle pocket for the pot if he needs it. No, he's a little short. So he can play the drop cannon or he could screw it off. It's his call. He's going to play the cannon.
So the red and now onto the yellow, and that is the cannon, and that's where he picks up his points.
See how he developed the red towards that pocket? Clever play, Paul.
An absolute gentleman of the game, Paul Stocker. Off the back of the semi-final victory over you, Wayne, the first thing he wanted to do was just simply acknowledge what a good billiards player you were. There was very, very humble man.
The one thing about our sport, make no mistake, we hurt like anything when we lose, but we're very appreciative of the skills of the player we played.
So over 50 now in this break. Are we just starting to see this game being turned up on its head? 56.
Paul will play the long loser here and try and bring the red to the left-hand middle pocket.
$59. So they can place their own cue ball anywhere inside of that D. Again, some good, simple, honest points up for grabs here for Paul Stocker. So halfway through this 2014 New Zealand Open Billiards Championship, it is Grant Hayward leading Paul Stocker 382 to 234. Let's find out a little bit more about the officiating of billiards. Well, Dan, talk to us. What exactly is the role of a referee in billiards?
It's to control the game, keep the score, count hazards, count cannons. There's many, many scoring shots in billiards that you have to be aware of. There's combination shots, there's all sorts. So it's quite an involved game.
Standing here with Steve Cowie over from Australia, a referee here at the billiards tournament. But what a lot of people don't know about, Steve, is that you've actually won a Queen Service Volunteer Medal for Marine Rescue.
That's correct. In 2003, I was granted the Emergency Services Medal on Australia Day Honours in 2003 for 20-odd years volunteer work in the Marine Rescue.
So between Marine Rescue and billiards, you lead, I guess, a pretty exciting, pretty diverse life.
I do. I don't do the Marine Rescue anymore. I own a yacht, I do a lot of sailing, and billiards is my other passion.
How did that passion come about, billiards?
I've been playing snooker for a number of years, and I got introduced to the game, and I thought, yeah, that's a good looking game. I might take that up, and I took it up, and then I thought, I want to learn more about the game. So to learn more about the game, learn the rules. So I went and become a referee, and from there, I've refereed in India, I've refereed in New Guinea, and this is my 12th event in New Zealand. This place is the best place on earth.
Boy, that is just a wonderful endorsement for this Cosy Club in Hamilton, which is very famous in billiards for that world record break back in 2009. You are watching the 2014 New Zealand Open Billiards Championship at the Cosy Club in Hamilton. Paul Stocker taking on Grant Hayward. It is Stocker at the table. And Wayne Carey, Paul Stocker trailing by 148 points at the break. I'd imagine he would have been collecting his thoughts during that 10-minute break, seeking some advice. What's he going to need to do to stay in touch with Grant Hayward?
Well, in my opinion, he needs to starve Grant. Needs to keep him off the table. And there's a classic shot of what I'm saying. He's actually played a nice safety shot here. And Grant's replying with what he thinks is a safety shot. He's trying to put them into straight lines.
So this could just be some very short breaks, just trying to force their opponent to make a mistake, to open the table up. So a very good defensive shot from Grant Hayward. And Paul Stocker not being able to answer the questions, and Hayward back at the table. An opportunity to extend that lead.
Grant here will be trying for a one-cushion cannon and try and hopefully to leave a second shot set up. He's such a good potter that he's lucky enough to be able to put the red anywhere and get it. This could be such an occasion.
So always thinking about not just the shot, but where they're going to then place the cue ball. Ultimately what they're trying to do to set up that second and third shot.
Good pot, Grant.
And now we just see the referees coming into shot. And what role do they play in a game of billiards, Wayne? How much control do they have over it? What are they ultimately looking for?
Well, obviously they've got a really big job in billiards. They've got to count hazards. They've got to count losers, because you know you're only allowed 15 of those in a row before you've got to get a cannon. That particular referee is Mr. Cliff Hazelton from Matamata. Cliff is world recognised as an international referee. He actually coaches referees overseas when he goes to their tournaments. A very much admired man overseas.
So Grant Hayward continues where he left off in the first half of this final, 3 hours in duration. Earlier this morning they played a 2-hour semi-final. In a game where you're dealing with preciseness, that comes down to concentration, and therefore being able to switch off in between shots, so important.
There's Paul now, he'll play a loser here. He will try and bring the red up by the yellow to give himself another shot.
So just explain once again the terminology, loser.
Loser, playing long and off. Playing long and off, and see the red coming up by the yellow? So now he's got options here. Put the red in the middle. He might even try a little cannon, set the red up to the opposite pocket. This is not a gimme. This is not a gimme. Oh, bad luck, Paul.
Yeah, just again, you just sense that just a little bit of nerve still there with Paul Stocker. Certainly looks a little bit out of sorts, but Grant Hayward, ever controlled, ever composed, just continues to rack the points up. A wonderful display of billiards from this very, very experienced athlete in cue sports.
Yes, he's not a bad golfer either, for those that want to know. He's actually on a 9 handicap. He's played for the drop cannon there very successfully. You would like to think he'll bring these balls together, and we'd like to think he would play some nice top of the table here.
9.
And he has it exactly where Wayne said, and this is top of the table play now.
See how skinny that and off was?
12.
He's got choice of two here, the cannon or the in off. He's played
the in off.
Yeah. He'd be disappointed with that. He didn't want to hit that wide out the way, but he'll play a one cushion cannon here from behind the red. And there it is.
17.
I'd imagine too here, Wayne, he starts to get a considerable lead. The clock is ticking down. Do you continue just to play your own natural game and rack up the points? At what point do you maybe just look at trying to shut your opponent down and just play a little bit more defensively?
19.
You actually play, you don't run any risks. You're in front, you don't need to run risks. You don't need to chase scoring shots. He'll play simple shots. He could have gone in for the middle, but I would suggest he's going to play a cannon and set the red up for something.
21.
And although he's got that a little wrong, he's still going to be able to screw across for the cannon, hopefully bringing the white to the red.
23.
He's actually hit that. He lost confidence in that shot. He's hit that quite forcefully, but he's got the pot red.
Is he just starting to overthink it a little bit? A few little just errors beginning to creep into his game. You can understand that though. Not just the pressure of final, but as we said, it's just the duration, the length of this tournament. They've been going for 3 days. And of course, on the Thursday night prior to this tournament starting, he won the Hamilton Open. So he's had a very good week so far. Arguably the fourth player coming into this Open Billiards Championship.
Grant's a wonderful player, very much respected, but most of the players in New Zealand are.
Just looking at the cues that these players are using, are they stock standard cues? Are they more along the lines of a snooker cue, or are they more along the lines of a pool cue?
Grant himself, he got this cue on memory in the States. On the day, he went through about 200 cues to pick this particular one out.
Grant Hayward, 31.
There you go, very good break of 31, just consolidating the lead. Paul Stocker, what can he do? Because time is ticking down, it's not his friend at the moment, and that scoreboard just beginning to be extended by Hayward. So he's really just got to control what he can control. Not look at the scoreboard, not look at what Grant Hayward's doing. Just remind himself that he's at home, that he's on his own table, lock himself in that bubble, and just be himself.
Nine.
There's another rule that we've missed that's worth talking about. You're only allowed to pot the red ball off the black spot twice. The third time that you pot it in a row, it's got to go up onto the blue spot.
12.
So what does Stocker do here now?
You'll play the cross loser and put the red hopefully on the middle pocket.
15.
See how the points add up? Suddenly he's on 15. There's 18 and he's on the cross loser again.
18.
For the viewers, that's just a natural half ball and off. There you go. Now he's got the choice here of a long and off, or middle pocket and off, or he'll play the cannon. He's got choice of 3 here, but it's about setting up the next shot. It's all about the next shot.
He decides to play the cannon. Nice shot. Red ball onto the opponent's yellow cue ball. Picks up the points.
And there you are. He set up 2 shots. He's got the in-off yellow.
25.
And he'll play the in-off red. And all the time the points are adding. Paul's been, as you know, 9 times North Island champion. He's been twice champion of this tournament, and he's been a New Zealand champion.
So the resume complete. So he's got plenty of experience. He's going to need it now, though.
Paul Stocker, 28.
Again, just little basic errors leading him down. Just
Grant
feeling the
Hayward,
pressure, feeling the
620.
pinch.
Paul Stocker,
Grant Hayward in control.
451.
620, leads 451. So what is going through the head of this man? You just see that little grimace there, not happy. But Grant Hayward, again, opens the door, gives him another opportunity.
That's a clever shot. Picked up 4 points there. Got the cannon. 5 points. Picked up the cannon off the red.
Yeah, slightly unorthodox technique when you compare it with Grant Hayward. Very upright in his body, and that's alluded to, possibly due to that back injury. You look at the contrasting form of Grant Hayward, chin a lot further, a lot closer to the cue.
This is called a short Jenny if he gets it. There you go. Do you notice a slight spin on the cue ball there? Watch the red spots. They tell you if you're cueing well. Now here comes another short Jenny. See it spinning? And it helps to spin the ball like around the corner kicker in rugby.
Not dissimilar to what you see in golf, where you see a player put a backspin on a certain ball, and again, it's all determined on the shot. It's all determined on the placement of the ball, following the shot.
Now there's something too that has come up before. The black spot's covered by the yellow, so the red went on to the pink spot. Paul would be disappointed with that. He should have developed that red better. He's got the cannon if he can, and he does. Oh, he's in an ugly situation here. Now here could be a really nice shot. He doesn't want to put the opponent's ball. He's going to try and go one off here. Oh, Mr. Paul Stocker, take a bow. That's a magnificent shot.
Some wonderful billiards being shown by the veteran. Paul Stocker, glimpses of the genius that has won him 9 North Island titles, a national championship, and 2 New Zealand Open titles. The reason why he is in this final.
You play a back cushion cannon here.
28.
And got it.
28 points.
Playing for it off in the middle pocket.
We haven't seen a lot of really large breaks in this final, and again, that probably what just comes down to the fact that it is a final.
Exactly. When you're a final, it's no time to experiment. Final's about winning. You've made the final. The last thing you do when you make a final is to finish second. You've done all the hard work. The job now is to just play well.
So Paul Stocker looking to just try and close that gap. He's in a good position here on the table to rack up some points.
He disappointed that he tried to run across on that cross loser line. He's about a foot short.
So the players today not only playing for national honours, but also playing for valuable world ranking points, and this is not going to be the first tournament staged here in New Zealand. Big plans for 2015, Wayne.
Yes, next year we've got 4 world ranking championships in New Zealand, all in September. There's one in Christchurch, there's one in Auckland, and there's 2 again in Hamilton. We will have world champions here. We will have up to 3,000 break players here next year.
So players who have scored a break of 1,000 or more points, that is remarkable. In fact, the only 100 break we've seen this morning was from you, Wayne, 106 in that semi-final. Just puts in context the class of the international field we're going to see here next year. But the clock is beginning to tick down. This final is almost over. There it is. Grant Hayward will take out the 2014 New Zealand Open Billiards Championship comfortably over Paul Stocker. A remarkable performance. Well, Grant Hayward, congratulations. It's been a remarkable week for you. You won the Hamilton Open here on Thursday night, and today you've won the Open Championship. How are you feeling?
Oh, it's unbelievable, actually. I wouldn't have given myself a chance coming in on Tuesday, but I've played reasonably well and managed to get up, so it's been surprising.
Well, he's had a wonderful tournament, but today he came up slightly short in the final. Paul Stocker, disappointing, I'd imagine, by the high standards that you do set yourself.
Very disappointed that I couldn't play better, but have to compliment Grant on a wonderful performance. He was absolutely tremendous.
I think I heard you saying to your grandson that you play at both ends of the spectrum, and maybe for this final you just weren't on.
Yes, I just couldn't do it today. But next time I play Grant, maybe I'll turn the tables. I hope so.
And with that victory, Grant Hayward now is ranked 25 in the world. Wayne Carey, 27th. Bryce Good, 51 in the world. Darren Taylor, 55. That is remarkable for a sport with great history here in New Zealand. So there you have it. We do have our winner
for the 2014 New Zealand Open Billiards Championship, and Grant Hayward, how classy was he today? But he also won himself the Hamilton Open on Thursday night, taking out the double. He comes from a snooker background, just demonstrating how difficult this particular sport is. We hope you've enjoyed the coverage. We encourage you to take up the sport of billiards. After all, it requires a huge amount of skill, but also an awful lot of intellect.